Hello and welcome back to AniMonolith's summary series of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Picking up from previous events, the scene opens with a chilling realization. Damrata mutters the name Velgrind, barely audible, but to Yuuki, it hits like thunder. Velgrind, a true dragon, one of the most powerful beings in existence. Her presence alone dwarfs what Yuuki felt from Veldora. At that moment, Yuuki understands that the operation has failed. Victory no longer matters. His survival is the only question now. But Velgrind isn't alone. Standing beside her is a man with radiant blonde hair, exuding an overwhelming aura of dominance. From the way Velgrind addresses him, Yuuki realizes the terrifying truth. This is none other than Emperor Rudra. At first, Yuuki mistakes him for Masayuki, but the differences are clear. Rudra's hair is naturally blonde, while Masayuki's is dyed. Rudra's eyes are sharp and commanding, completely unlike Masayuki's vacant gaze. This is no look-alike. This is someone on an entirely different level. Seeing Damrata immediately kneel in reverence, Yuuki feels a sting of bitterness but says nothing. He knows. To Damrata, Rudra is everything. Yuuki tries to maintain his composure, casually taunting. "So, your majesty has time to drop by in person?" Rudra, unbothered, replies that he's actually quite busy, especially with his victory over Guy close at hand. The casual exchange surprises even Damrata, who never expected Rudra to converse with someone like Yuuki. Velgrind too doesn't intervene, but the civility ends quickly. Rudra gives a simple command: "Submit to Damrata." A straightforward order, yet the force behind it is crushing. Yuuki feels an immense pressure, nearly dropping to his knees. Even his skill, anti-skill, can't block it. To stay upright, he forces control over his own senses to remain conscious and resist the compulsion. It takes everything he has, but somehow he endures. Rudra is visibly surprised that his domination didn't work. Velgrind explains with a smirk that Yuuki mistook Rudra's charisma for a mental assault. She warns Rudra to tone down his power or risk destroying the pawn before converting him. Yuuki, burning with humiliation, snaps. "They're toying with me like I'm beneath notice?" If words won't work, he'll show them through force. He activates his full arsenal, his ultimate skill, Greedy King Mammon, which absorbs skills, nullifies magic, and even invades the target's emotions and memories. His plan is bold: kill Rudra first, then deal with Velgrind. But he never lands a hit. Before he can even blink, Velgrind intercepts. She grabs his right arm faster than light. In that moment, a tidal wave of magicules flows into Yuuki's body. It's too much. His body starts breaking down from the overload, blood pouring from his mouth. Greedy King Mammon was designed to absorb power, but this is beyond its limit. One physical clash is all it takes for Yuuki to understand the brutal truth. The power gap is absolute. Velgrind is on the same level as Guy Crimson. She can't be defeated. Crushed and breathless, Yuuki can only wait, watching Rudra and Velgrind for any opening or decision that might give him a chance to live. Then Rudra makes a proposition. "If you can resist my domination, I'll let you go free." Rudra, fully confident in his power of domination, made the offer with absolute seriousness. Gaining a pawn like Yuuki could be a major advantage, but even if Yuuki resisted or faked submission, it wouldn't change the tide of battle. The idea of failure didn't even cross Rudra's mind. Having been with Rudra for years, Velgrind understood him deeply. She recognized his intent without needing an explanation and chose to stay out of it, simply observing from the sidelines. Yuuki, realizing this might be his only chance to survive, accepted the challenge. As someone who also excelled in manipulation, wielding the ultimate skill Greedy King Mammon, he was determined to test his will against Rudra's. Who would come out on top? As Rudra approached, he spoke calmly. He said Guy was right to treat Yuuki and the moderate clown troupe as wildcards on the board. He also revealed that Kigali, Yuuki's most trusted subordinate, had been captured and interrogated by Kondu. Everything had been exposed, including Yuuki's newly awakened ultimate skill. The situation couldn't be worse. Rudra knew everything about Yuuki. Meanwhile, Yuuki knew nothing about Rudra's full capabilities. For a moment, despair tempted him, but his pride wouldn't allow retreat. Standing up with sheer willpower, Yuuki looked Rudra in the eye and demanded they begin. Rudra accepted and unleashed his power. Regalia Dominion, the divine authority granted by the ultimate skill, Justice King Michael. Unlike the version Kondo used, this was the real thing, pure and absolute. It allowed Rudra to dominate any being without resistance. Yuuki stood no chance. He collapsed instantly, unconscious. Victory seemed clear, but Velgrind raised a concern. Are you really going to let him live? He'll just pretend to obey and stab you in the back. Rudra, unfazed, replied calmly, if he truly manages to overcome this, he'll have earned his freedom. Confident in his absolute dominance, Rudra had no doubts. He turned to Damrata, who had been silently observing in the background. When he wakes up, he's yours to handle. As you command, Damrata replied. Satisfied, Rudra left the room with Velgrind. His purge had begun. That night, the empire began to shift. The capital trembled, and though it was midnight, the sky turned crimson, and the rain that fell was red as blood. Let's rewind briefly before Yuki's confrontation with Rudra, Kigali, Tyr, and Footman were on the move. Along with over 30 elite fighters, they were fleeing the imperial capital under the cover of night, aiming to regroup with the mixed corps stationed near the dwarven border, roughly 500 kilometers away. While a normal journey would take 10 days, Kigali estimated they could make it in just a few hours thanks to their superhuman abilities. Though the Empire had magic portals connecting cities, they weren't an option. The area was too risky and the portals couldn't handle large group transfers. Their only choice was to sprint through the night like bullets. However, Kigali was worried. Their strongest member, Laplace, was off on another mission. Trusting her instincts, honed by countless battles, she ordered Tyr and Footman to call Laplace back via telepathy. She also ordered the group to scatter and prioritize survival. Before she could finish her orders, a man stepped from the shadows, Lieutenant Kondo Tatsuya. In an instant, over 50 soldiers dropped from the rooftops and surrounded them. The Imperial Guardians, the Emperor's personal elite. Kigali immediately understood Kondo's identity, commander of the Imperial Guard. The situation turned grim. Though Kigali's warriors could match the Guardians in power, they were outclassed in equipment. The enemy wielded legendary-grade arms, and in a full clash, the odds were hopeless. Kigali knew stalling was their only path forward, long enough for Yuki or Laplace to arrive. She stepped forward, ready to act as a decoy. Kondo, uninterested, sighed. He found it tiresome to waste time on what he considered a one-sided battle. Is this just the delusion of a former demon lord? He mocked. Kigali was stunned. Only a handful of people knew her past identity. That Kondo knew it so casually meant his intelligence network was far beyond what she had imagined. Then came the next blow. Kondo revealed that Rudra himself had already mobilized his purge. The Emperor was moving directly. There was no need to retreat to the dwarven border, the path was already closed. He offered Kigali a chance to surrender. She still had the potential to evolve into a demon lord, and Rudra could make use of that. Kigali didn't want to believe him, but when Kondo uttered the name Yuki Kagurazaka, her heart froze. This man knew everything. Yuki's rebellion, his plans, even the manipulation of Damrata. Kondo dismissed all of Yuki's schemes as childish. For Kigali, Yuki's strategist and the wielder of the unique skill Schemer, this was a slap in the face. Her pride ignited and rage began to boil. Sensing her fury, Tyr and Footman charged at Kondo without hesitation. Despite facing two warriors strong enough to battle demon lords, Kondo didn't flinch. Calmly, he drew a pistol in one hand and a sword in the other. Kigali, watching from the sidelines, realized he wasn't even fighting seriously yet. The battle exploded across the streets. Footman's monoblast ripped through the air, alarms rang out, and chaos broke loose. Still, Kondo remained unfazed, his posture composed, his eyes sharp. Kigali tried to steady herself. He's trying to provoke me. Don't fall for it. But a chilling thought crept into her mind. What if Kondo is the one who's been manipulating Damrata from the start? As the clash escalated, Kondo's focus never wavered. Footman and Tyr, two powerful Magian, fought with full force, but Kondo matched them with ease. It was becoming clear that the true monster wasn't just Rudra. It was the man quietly commanding the purge in the Emperor's name. Once again, Kigali had to face the truth. She couldn't defeat Kondo. He was clearly stronger than Damrata, and perhaps even slightly stronger than Laplace. As she analyzed the situation, she began to suspect Kondo had a deeper objective. He wasn't here to kill them. He was here to control the moderate clown troop. Realizing this, Kigali tried to warn Tyr and Footman to stop attacking. But her voice didn't reach them. They were already too far gone, driven to the edge by Kondo's cold provocations. Footman, burning with fury, activated his unique skill, Amplifier. With each bounce off the ground, he rapidly increased both his speed and body mass, turning himself into a human cannonball. It was the perfect combination of momentum and brute force. This technique made him the strongest attacker among the clowns. But before he could reach Kondu, it was already over. In the blink of an eye, Footman's arms and legs were severed, and a deep slash marked his forehead. He was alive, but just barely. Tyr, witnessing this, was crushed emotionally and lost all will to fight. Kigali stood frozen. She couldn't allow herself to be captured, not while she still held sensitive information about Yuuki. Her only option was self-destruction. As undead elves, members of the moderate clown troupe were effectively immortal. Even if their physical forms were destroyed, their spirits could live on and eventually return in new bodies. Kigali placed her hope in Laplace and Yuuki, that they would bring her back. Understanding her plan, Footman and Tyr joined her. The three of them began releasing their full demonic energy, intending to overload and destroy their own bodies. But Kondu, calm as ever, simply sheathed his sword and raised his pistol. I suppose your souls would just stick around, wouldn't they? Kigali was stunned. He knew, even about their race's secrets. Kondu didn't explain further. He merely mentioned a single name, Clayman. That was all she needed to hear. Laplace had once reported that Clayman had started acting erratic decades ago. Now it was clear Kondu had been manipulating Clayman from the shadows all this time. The realization shattered Kigali's composure. Her rage exploded and she prepared to strike Kondu down. But that was exactly what he had been waiting for. Without hesitation, Kondu raised his gun and fired, a single Dominion bullet. It didn't harm her body. Instead, it struck her spirit directly. The bullet, infused with Emperor Rudra's power, was a tool of absolute mental domination. It only worked on one person at a time and required the target to be mentally vulnerable, overwhelmed by anger, sorrow, or pride. Kigali, burning with hatred, was the perfect target. She collapsed, completely under Kondu's control. Kondo wasted no time. He commanded her to activate the curse she had previously engraved on the souls of her subordinates, forcing them to stand down. Tyr and Footman, bound by that soul curse, obeyed instantly. The remaining warriors, realizing the battle was lost, surrendered to avoid pointless death. The coup had failed. The entire moderate clown troupe was in Kondo's hands. As silence returned to the capital, Kondo spoke quietly. If you're going to hate anyone, hate your own powerlessness. Justice changes with the will of the strong. Your ambitions fell before the will of His Majesty Rudra, that's all. It was survival of the fittest. Kondu understood that truth better than anyone. He didn't mock Kigali. He respected her, because he knew that if he ever lost, he too would be crushed just the same. But this wasn't the end. Rimuru was still on his way, and the storm he was bringing hadn't even begun. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in the next video from AniMonolith.